Teela, the loyal guard and friend of Prince Adam, is He-Man's trusted accomplice. The independent, tenacious, and frequently temperamental Teela was the adoptive daughter of Duncan, the current man-at-arms. She grew up in the palace of King Randor. Being the daughter of man-at-arms, she was given combat training from a young age. Her potential and capabilities had always been astonishing when it came to her battle prowess. At the age of 18, Teela became the captain of the Royal Guard at the Palace of Eternos. It also meant that she was responsible for the protection, development, and training of the Prince of Eternia, Prince Adam. She was deemed rightfully so the warrior goddess in the Masters of the Universe Classics toy collection. She was unaware of her extraordinary heritage as she was the daughter and heir of the sorceress of Castle Grayskull. She was a fierce warrior whose sword-fighting skills were unrivaled. Always on beck and call for King Randor, she was a prominent character in the He-Man universe and had plentiful relationships to explore with our main cast of heroes. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
These beasts here is bright light, so...
Exploring her role in the popular 80s animated series. In the 80s animated series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, produced by Filmation, Teela's familial relations are vastly unexplored. She is introduced to us as the daughter of the sorceress of the Castle of Grayskull, but her biological father is never revealed. However, her adoptive father, Duncan, remarks that he was one of Eternia's most remarkable men and died with valor amidst a tremendous battle. Although a genius in terms of fighting IQ, Teela is often short-sighted when it comes to making rational decisions and maintaining a level-headed demeanor. Unlike her mother, Teela has a quick temper and is a bit reckless, which often leads to dealing with consequences that are entirely avoidable. But these qualities are as much a boon as they are a bane. Teela is perpetually prepared to jump into battles if it means that she can assist her companions and defeat the opposing evil. As she is responsible for the combat training of Prince Adam, she has her fair share of exposure to the prince's nonchalant behavior. She views him as an indolent coward who runs away from his responsibilities rather than fulfilling them and seems uninterested and inattentive in his training regimes. As the story develops, it is suggested that Teela and He-Man carry a certain romantic tension between them, as she is often seen flirtatiously reaching out to him. But Teela was still unaware of the secret identity of He-Man as Prince Adam. Hence, to her, scolding the prince for his ways was necessary, although it seemed highly unfair to us, the audience. We learn much about the character in the episode Teela's Quest. The story starts with Queen Marlena recalling her crash landing on Eternia through the use of a memory projector that the ever-so-genius Man-at-Arms created. It is revealed that she was an astronaut sent from Earth. An intrigued Prince Adam asks the Queen if she ever misses her life on Earth and wishes to return to how it was, to which, without any hesitation, she replies that she would not trade her life on Eternia for anything. This heartfelt conversation between a son and his mother makes Teela rekindle her curiosity about the identity of a biological mother. Seeking some answers, she looks for Man-at-Arms, who was at his workshop while Orko was attempting to create a music box. The box in reality contained explosives and exploded in the workshop. As Orko escapes, Teela arrives to talk to her father about the plethora of unanswered questions she has in her mind. Understanding her curiosity, Duncan reveals to her that her father was one of the greatest men on Eternia and he died a heroic death in a battle. He even mentions how he is the proudest a father can be of adopting Teela as his own, before telling her that her mother's identity is something that he has sworn never to reveal. Keeping his word, Duncan does not give any information to Teela. As a last-ditch effort, she tries the memory projector on herself, but she only has recollections of Duncan. Agitated at her unsuccessful attempts to learn more about her mother, she tells Orko that she will seek the Oracle of the Crystal Sea for answers. Orko, being Orko, revealed her plan to Adam and Cringer. Knowing this, they both transform and follow her to ensure her safety. As suspected, she was in danger, as Skeletor and Merman were spying on Teela. Knowing Teela is a close ally to He-Man, Merman wants to seek revenge on him for an outrage from the past. Soon, she is ambushed ambushed by shadow beasts upon her arrival at the Crystal Sea. Teela, being a formidable warrior, is able to defeat the shadow beasts without breaking a sweat. Determined to uncover the identity of her mother, she finds the Oracle. The Oracle initiates telling Teela about the time when Man-at-Arms was summoned to assist Zor the Falcon, as Merman and his comrades were attempting to capture Zor to use her as a sacrifice to a sea demon. Although Zor could have saved herself by simply flying and evading her captors, it seemed as though she was protecting something in her nest. In the story, Man-at-Arms soon defeated Merman, but the Oracle was interrupted by the arrival of Merman before he could finish the tale. As Merman ties Teela and tells her that her father saved a victim he had chosen for the sea demon Bakul 20 years ago, Orko notifies the sorceress about the predicament. He-Man breaks through the wall and releases Teela with his sword as Merman summons the monster with the Crimson Pearl. Merman's staff is taken by the timely arrival of Zor, who then drops it, shattering the Crimson Pearl inside. Bakul turns on Merman in rage. He-Man then saves the enemy by bringing down the ice structure on which Bakul is standing, burying the beast in an avalanche. With the beast defeated, Teela returns to the Oracle, who proceeds to finish the story. Teela learns that Man-at-Arms found a little girl in the nest who was kept in the mountains for her safety, but Zor realized that she would not be able to keep her safe after Merman's attack, entrusting the girl to Man-at-Arms. As the story finishes, it is through the arrival of the sorceress that a tremendous revelation is made. She confirms that she is Teela's mother. Overwhelmed and astonished, Teela is then informed that one day it will be her time to take the sorceress's place. The sorceress continues by telling Teela that until the time comes, it is for her safety that she must not know about this. She then wipes her daughter's memory of this interaction and the subsequent revelation. We see a tear running down the cheek of the sorceress, as she would want nothing more than to be there for her daughter, but is bound by the shackles of her duties as the sorceress. In this heart-wrenching episode, we cannot help but feel bad for the individuals involved and their situation. It sheds light on the determination possessed by Teela to find her biological mother, Duncan's great fatherhood, and the ever-so-complex scenario of the sorceress fulfilling her responsibilities at such a high cost. Another episode that revolves around the heroic adventures of Teela is Teela's Triumph. Our story begins with the spirit of Grayskull and the sorceress as they are overlooking her daughter Teela trailing with Man-at-Arms and Adam. The sorceress mentions how she patiently waits for the day to come when she can reveal to Teela that she is her mother. Deciding to meet her, she turns into her falcon form Zor, but unfortunately stumbles upon a route where Skeletor is again tinkering with interdimensional weapons. As a showcase for Evelyn and Trapjaw, he shoots Zor with the weapon and sends her to another dimension. Realizing that neither He-Man nor Teela would be able to find her there, she starts losing hope. In the face of this adversity, the spirit of Castle Grayskull approaches our heroes. With Adam, Cringer, Teela, and Man-at-Arms hearing about this situation, Duncan tells Adam to find He-Man as hastily as he can. Meanwhile, the spirit reaches Teela and informs her that she must replace the sorceress at Castle Grayskull, but does not provide much of an explanation as to why. Not intent on backing down from this situation, Teela reluctantly agrees. Promptly, the spirit guides Teela through the lessons she must learn to become the new sorceress. In the meantime, He-Man attempts to find the sorceress and is led to Snake Mountain. There, he suffers the same fate as the sorceress at the hands of Skeletor, who blasts He-Man with the same interdimensional weapon and sends him to the same dangerous and unknown volcanic planet where Zor is. Assuming this to be the end of He-Man and getting rid of Eternia's greatest champion and his most prominent rival, a joyous Skeletor arrives at the castle of Grayskull to begin his assault, where Teela is having a hard time with her training under the spirit of Grayskull. In an attempt to avoid confrontation, Teela tries to disguise herself as the sorceress, but Skeletor sees right through it, giving Teela no choice but to engage in a fight. Now it is only Teela who stands between Skeletor and the ultimate power. Still hopeless in her attempts to escape, Zor is trapped inside a cave full of molten lava. He-Man locates her and attempts to save her her from peril by clearing massive amounts of debris. Once the incredible feat is achieved, the sorceress is able to use the power sword to return them to Eternia. Upon their arrival at the castle, Teela, who was successful at subduing Evelyn and Trapjaw, faces off Skeletor as he seats himself on the throne. The realization that the sorceress and He-Man have managed to escape and stand against him is enough reason for Skeletor to retreat immediately. Successful in defending the castle from Skeletor and his minions, the victorious Teela and the sorceress have a conversation where Teela doubts her capabilities. The sorceress ensures that she is unique and the perfect person to take up her role when needed. She also mentions how her mother would be proud of her, to which Teela responds by saying that she hopes her mother would be like the sorceress. With an ardent ending to the episode, we see a revitalized Teela who has regained her self-confidence due to the praise from the sorceress. Apart from Teela's tragic but holistic familial relations, we also witness her romantic relations in the series. As we mentioned earlier, Teela had made her advances towards He-Man on multiple occasions. In an episode titled The Problem with Power, we see Skeletor scheming to take down his arch-nemesis. He summons General Tataran to aid him in his master plan. He intends to unleash the Goblin army through a dimensional gateway, but his main act will require the General, a mechanical entity with no heartbeat. He exclaims that He-Man will defeat himself. Skeletor takes his plan into action and his shenanigans are detected by the palace and reported to King Randor. Duncan tells them that Skeletor is forcing the people of the village of Zack to work for him and is building a massive structure on the Crystal Sea. Distressed, the king sends Man-at-Arms, Prince Adam, and Orko to investigate. They soon realize that the building is an interdimensional gateway and its structural integrity seems weaker on the right side. We are then shifted to Skeletor and the General talking about the weak side of the structure being booby-trapped to perfection. He then continues to pursue his plans by changing the General's appearance to look like an average human. Upon He-Man's arrival, Skeletor shoots at Orko, provoking He-Man to retaliate. Skeletor then leads him to the weak structure and makes him strike the compromised part, leading it to collapse. General Tataran, disguised as a man, buries himself under the debris and protects himself under his force field from the falling structure. Orko and Duncan notice this and scream for He-Man's help to save the innocent man. Upon finding the body, the man is declared dead as there is no heartbeat from General Tataran. He-Man is struck with the realization that an innocent man has lost his life due to his rash decisions and misuse of power. To accentuate this feeling of remorse, Skeletor disguises himself as another man and exclaims that it is his brother and He-Man has killed him. Filled with guilt and remorse, He-Man flies off to Castle Grayskull. Meanwhile, Orko, who had stayed back in the village, finds out that the innocent men was Skeletor and General Tataran in disguise, and they soon capture him as he attempts to tell He-Man about this. The reason for He-Man to arrive at Grayskull is to relinquish his powers, and upon transforming back to Prince Adam, he drops the sword down into the bottomless pit surrounding Grayskull. At the royal palace, Teela reports that Skeletor has begun reconstructing the gateway. Since He-Man is out of commission, Teela, as fearless as she is, takes a time bomb and flies off to the village of Zack. Meanwhile, Orko manages to escape the prison and immediately flies off to find Adam and inform him of the tricks that Skeletor has pulled. Regaining his confidence, Adam goes into the abyss and in a nick of time finds the Sword of Power, again becoming He-Man. He goes straight to aid Teela in her attempt to stop Skeletor. Teela, however, is unable to stop the General Goblin's army from arriving through the gate and is subsequently captured. In an attempt to bluff her enemies, Teela deceptively fakes that she has activated the time bomb and is able to scare General Tataran. But Skeletor sees right through it and shoots a beam at her, causing her to fall and drop the bomb. Arriving right on time, both Skeletor and Teela are shocked to see He-Man again. As he is about to battle with He-Man, Skeletor hears some beeping noise and Teela realizes that one of his beams must have damaged the bomb's timer and it could go off at any moment. Skeletor makes his escape and our heroes are left behind with the bomb. In an attempt to outrun the bomb explosion, He-Man picks Teela in his arms and runs as fast as he can. As the explosion occurs, the Goblin army is teleported back to their world and a large amount of debris falls on our heroes. He-Man, worried about Teela, starts panicking, but she soon regains consciousness in his arms, saying that she must have bumped her head. She suggests they go home and he is ecstatic to know she is safe. He-Man proceeds towards the palace with Teela in his arms, and even after insisting that he put her down, he refuses. The episode ends with a beautiful scene with He-Man carrying Teela in his arms off into the sunset. This episode does a tremendous job of showcasing the relationship between Teela and He-Man. Both are strong warriors who fight for what is right against the forces of evil, and both care for each other as comrades and more. Although unbeknownst to Teela, He-Man has additional motives to care for her, as he is Prince Adam as well. Teela in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2002. In the revamped 2002 animated series of the franchise, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Teela's appearance is changed drastically. Everything from her clothes and hair to her demeanor has shifted. Instead of the earlier representation of Teela, where she ties her hair up, the 2002 Teela has a long ponytail and seems much more agile, leaner, and younger. The fundamental traits of her character remain the same though. She continues to make a mockery of or correct Adam for what she perceives to be his lack of bravery and tenacity, while secretly holding an unspoken and unrequited passion for his alter ego, He-Man. She is still an expert combatant, harboring her skills in hand-to-hand combat and weapons mastery. Faithful to the original, this new version of Teela is shown to be feistier and a bit more aggressive, but not as short-tempered as she was before. Despite her young age, she is the captain of the Royal Guard in this series, only furthering her skills as a fighter. In the episode The Ties That Bind, Teela sustains a severe injury while defending the castle from Skeletor's assault. It is said that she would need a large blood transfusion to be saved. All the heroes step up to help their comrade, but Man-at-Arms refuses and takes her into the castle of Grayskull for her to receive a blood transfusion from the sorceress. Following this, Teela realizes that she has gained the ability to read people's thoughts. Learning this, Man-at-Arms warns Adam to stay away from Teela, as it could lead to her reading his mind and knowing about his secret identity. Over at Snake Mountain, as Evelyn detects Teela's new telepathic abilities, she starts projecting false messages to Teela and ensures that she goes on a fool's errand with her comrades against an alleged attack from Skeletor. In the meantime, failing to persuade the sorceress to tell Teela about her heritage, Man-at-Arms returns to the palace to know that Teela, with her comrades, has gone to the sands of time. He takes He-Man and Battle Cat alongside him to chase after her for her safety. Upon realizing that Skeletor is not present at the sands of time and that she has been misled here, she is ambushed by giant creatures from the sand, which keep them occupied while Evelyn charges to assault the castle of Grayskull. He-Man and Man-at-Arms arrive just in time to aid Teela in defeating the sandworms and saving the ambushed heroes. The sorceress then contacts Teela and asks for her help defending the castle from the assault. Doubtful at first, Teela heads to the castle alongside her companions and douses Skeletor's attempts to take control of Grayskull. Successful in protecting the castle, Teela soon loses her telepathic powers. Similar to specific episodes in the Filmation series, this 2002 animated series episode focuses on Teela, Man-at-Arms, and the sorceress more than He-Man, giving us further insight into their relations and character development. It is an essential episode as it retells their iteration of the story of the Filmation series episode Teela's Quest, which is a vastly important storyline for the character of Teela. Her origins are further explored in the episode Out of the Past. Our story begins as He-Man fights Skeletor while Teela and Cyclone ensure that the Cool Attack caravan reaches the royal palace safely. After the battle subsides, Teela goes back alone to the palace, but during her commute, she gets a vision of her past and crashes into a top of a rock, falling unconscious in the process. Saved by the locals, she wakes up in the village of Pellasia, where she meets the village shaman who shows Teela the Wall of Remembrance, where she notices a carving of a girl with an uncanny resemblance to her. In the meantime, Skeletor is showcasing his new set of warriors that he plans to release on a nearby settlement to test them. Stinkor, a mutated Pellasian, appears and suggests that Skeletor should release them to his old home village of Pelissia. Earlier, the sorceress had summoned Man-at-Arms to the castle of Grayskull to tell him the tale of when she left the castle, disguising herself as a little girl, arriving at Pelissia, where she was welcomed. She was at peace until an evil warlord named Pravus invaded the land in order to find the weapons that Oedipus had told him about. Seeing them unable to defend themselves, the sorceress stepped in and defeated the attackers, saving the Pelisians in the process. In remembrance of her act of valor, the villagers made her carving of her on the side of the cliff and banished Oedipus into exile, never to return. Later, Pravus allied with other warlords, leading to the Great Unrest. An injured warrior with amnesia was brought to the village by the locals, who, after receiving healing from the sorceress, rejoined the battle. Upon knowing the situation of Teela, the sorceress sends Man-at-Arms to rescue her, and Prince Adam accompanies him. Teela notices that the batteries of a Wind Raider have been taken out, as the shaman wants her to stay. Just then, Skeletor arrives and sends his army of clay warriors to attack the village. In order to defend the village, Teela quickly tries to fend off the attackers, but is soon overwhelmed and outnumbered. Reaching just on time, Man-at-Arms and Adam, who turns into He-Man, aid Teela in defending the village. As the battle rages on, our heroes are in a sticky situation, as the clay warriors are durable and have regenerative capabilities. To counter this, they realize that the enemies crack after being exposed to heat. In order to successfully defeat these warriors, the heroes lead them away from the village and start burning and striking them until their complete annihilation. Saved by the visitors, the Pelisians thank Teela, He-Man and Man-at-Arms for their bravery. As Man-at-Arms notices the Wall of Remembrance, the sorceress contacts him again to complete the tale. She tells him that after the injured warrior healed and returned to the battle, the sorceress was called back to the castle of Grayskull by the elders, and she left with a baby that grew up to be Teela, with Man-at-Arms as her father figure. Teela's origins were shrouded in their own mystery until this episode, but even then, the audience was left to speculate who the biological father of Teela was. This adventure even strengthened the bond between Teela and Man-at-Arms and showed tremendous character growth for both of them. It provided us with some much-needed backstory for the character of Teela and allowed us to connect to her even more. The New Adventures of He-Man featured her in an episode. In the animated series The New Adventures of He-Man 1990, an episode has Teela making an appearance. The episode Once Upon a Time has He-Man battling Skeletor, Flog, BH and Quake. As He-Man realizes that he is outnumbered, a bright blazing light appears as the sky grows gloomy and lightning strikes nearby. A mysterious force field appears, then dissipates to reveal a blonde woman in armor and with a sword, Teela. Back to back, fighting evil once more, He-Man is delighted to see Teela again. They fight the mutants and reminisce about old times. Teela also mentions how Eternia has been at peace since Skeletor left. Overwhelmed, Skeletor retreats by transporting himself and his comrades using a magic spell. It is later revealed to He-Man that it was the sorceress who sent Teela to aid him in his battle and also help him with his homesickness. Her actions work as intended, as when Teela figures that He-Man is not happy with his life on Primus and asks him to return, he refuses, mentioning how he is happy but was just homesick, and seeing Teela, an old friend, was just what he needed to carry on. Their adventure is not over, however, as Skeletor is able to return. With the help of Quake opening a secret passageway to the vaults of Zactus, where he finds the Encyclopedia of Evil, Skeletor is able to overpower both He-Man and Teela. They are eventually freed by Mara, a young assistant to Master Cebrian, who even shows some hints of jealousy towards Teela. They rush back to battle the mutants, and the book begins burning in the heat of the battle, both literally and figuratively. As the vault starts to fall apart due to Quake's mace slamming the ground, Skeletor retreated once again, and the book he was holding burned away. Our heroes are also able to make their escape just as the vaults seal back back up. While He-Man and Teela wait for the dragon iris to bloom in Groth's gardens, Groth is also present and glad to be back. They say their goodbyes, neither wanting to, and Teela tells He-Man that she wishes he could accompany her back. He-Man, teary-eyed, looks at where Teela was standing as she was slowly vanishing into thin air. As they walk away together, He-Man gives Mara a flower from the garden and says, "Let's go home." This brief appearance from Teela was enough to know what was going on with the character during the time this series was taking place. It also acts as a reminder of He-Man's life on Eternia and how different it is from his life on Primus. The series took their liberty in altering the looks of Teela as she now dons long blonde hair rather than her tied-up red hair, and even her body armor was colored pink instead of the usual white. Her appearance was much more reminiscent of how she was depicted in the first mini-comic. She had an interesting role in the Masters of the Universe 1987 movie. The Masters of the Universe 1987 was a live-action rendition of the He-Man universe. It tells the tale of two teenagers who unknowingly cross paths with He-Man, the most powerful being in the universe, and his companions when they accidentally land on Earth from their home planet Eternia. They then embark on a mission to defend the universe from his arch-enemy, the evil Skeletor. Teela, one of the protagonists of this movie alongside He-Man and Man-at-Arms, plays a substantial role in the story. She is seen battling Skeletor's forces on multiple occasions with her comrades in this movie. Played by the actress Chelsea Field, Teela is shown to have curly brown hair rather than her tied-up red hair. The character's attitude towards the adversity at hand is much more different than her animated counterparts. She is a serious fighter and lets little to no humorous interactions her way. Even her costume is very different from what we had seen earlier. She dons a grey-colored jumpsuit in this iteration of the character. Her origins as the daughter of the sorceress is also not explored in this movie. The only contextual information about Teela's character that we get could be new to us is when they hint toward Teela being a vegetarian based on how she reacted when Man-at-Arms was eating barbecued ribs. Humor aside, this version of Teela is shown to be much more reliant on her laser gun than her weapon of choice in other iterations like her staff. She even seems much more proficient at using firearms but lacks the aerobic athleticism of her animated counterparts. Teela's comic book storyline is just as interesting. In the early mini-comics, Teela was depicted as a warrior goddess. She was a fierce and formidable fighter who was infused with the spirits of legendary warriors that passed away. Her preferred mode of transport was a unicorn on which she roamed the landscapes of Eternia, searching for evil and protecting her homeland from all that threatened it. She was, as always, a loyal friend and ally to He-Man. This version of Teela was even informed by the spirit of Grayskull of the impending duty she must take on as the guardian of Castle Grayskull when the day came, to which she exclaimed how it would be her honor to accept that role. Her origins were heavily shifted to a much darker theme in the DC mini-comics. It was revealed that Teela was just a clone of the goddess of Castle Grayskull. Skeletor, who had captured the goddess 20 years ago, had planned to raise Teela as an evil counterpart to the divine goddess. However, the baby clone was rescued and saved by Man-at-Arms, who named her after the goddess and raised her as her father figure to be a strong and independent young woman. She was shown to be hot-headed and ill-tempered. She was initially responsible for being a bodyguard to the coward Prince Adam, but later she jumped a pedestal in her position in the Royal Guard of Eternia as she assumed the rank of Captain of the Guard, fighting alongside He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and the other warriors of Eternia. Both of these comic storylines have an interesting take on Teela's origins. What do you think? Which one of Teela's origins do you prefer? Do let us know in the comment section below. Her role in Masters of the Universe Revelation opened up a new angle to her character. In Masters of the Universe Revelation, we get significant developments for Teela's character arc. The series dwells deeper into storylines that had previously left the audience confused and wanting more. Their attempts at revisiting these storylines act as a powerful tool in providing more context to Teela's character and the overall establishment of the He-Man universe. In an episode where Teela was supposed to be promoted as as the new bearer of the title of Man-at-Arms, at which Duncan was full of nothing but pride, the sorceress sends a distress call to the heroes, mentioning that Skeletor is assaulting the castle of Grayskull. Immediately, the heroes rush to the sorceress's aid under the leadership of Teela as the new Man-at-Arms. Leading the Royal Guard alongside Fisto and Clampchamp, Teela jumps into the battle against Skeletor's army of Skelecons and evil warriors. In a sneak attack, Skeletor is able to best Teela and capture her. With the arrival of He-Man and Battle Cat, the tide of the battle shifts and Teela fends off Evil Lyn. To their surprise, Mossman, the nature god, joins the battle against Skeletor. But he is quickly defeated as Skeletor uses the Havoc Staff to burn Mossman to ashes. Eventually, Skeletor is able to merge the powers of the Havoc Staff and the Orb of Power, appropriating the magical power that created Eternia and the entire universe. Understanding the severity of the situation, the sorceress stops time for everyone except for He-Man and Teela for them to find a way to save the universe. She also wanted to see Teela one last time, which left her muddled. In an unfortunate turn of events, as He-Man attempts to absorb the magical energy of the orb with his sword, Teela witnesses He-Man and Battle Cat transform back into Adam and Cringer. Skeletor, attempting to seek the same power that turned He-Man back into Adam, grabbed the two halves of the sword for himself. A tremendous explosion ensues due to the overwhelming magical powers, taking both Adam and Skeletor's life. This was the first time that Teela had realized that He-Man and Adam are the same people, and it took substantial time for the events to be contemplated in her mind. Duncan, who had to be the bearer of the bad news that He-Man and subsequently Adam had died to protect Eternia, faced the wrath of a betrayed King Randor. With his faith broken, he banishes Duncan from the palace and orders his execution if seen in front of him. He also forbids Duncan from ever using an armory to create weaponry again. Sharing the king's feeling of betrayal, Teela quits her role at the royal palace as she wants to move past all the deception from the people she trusted the most throughout her life. In this storyline, Teela loses contact with her father figure Duncan, her lifelong friend Adam, and her ally and companion He-Man. The revelation that her loved ones had kept her in shadows for so long and had broken her trust throughout their lives with the lies they fed her every day was devastating for Teela. The next time we see her in the series, her appearance changes as she sports shorter hair and a set of clothes that are more comfortable for fighting but are not as flashy as her previous choice of clothing. With the events that transpired in this single storyline, her character continues to show growth as the fate of the universe is at risk from the sources of evil. With the absence of He-Man and the magical powers of Eternia fading, the heroes try everything in their ability to restore peace, but things seem hopeless. In a flashback, Teela's mother gives her a magical marking before departing from her daughter and Man-at-Arms to serve her duties as the sorceress. This is yet another colossal revelation for the character as she finally learns of her heritage and finds her mother's identity to be the sorceress all along. Eventually, Skeletor kills the sorceress, and with Duncan present there, a long-term fan theory is confirmed as it is revealed to the audience that he is indeed Teela's biological father, as in her last breath, the sorceress refers to him as My Duncan. Faithful to the name of the series, these storylines are full of tremendous revelations about the origins of our main characters. As it was destined for her, Teela eventually assumes the mantle of the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull to fight the evil forces of Dark Lyn. In a great battle, Eternia's forces, which Teela gathered, fight against Scareglow's army. Teela reconciles with her mother as she enters the tide of transformation and becomes the new sorceress without needing to end her connections with her friends and family. Teela successfully reprimands Dark Lyn's nihilistic views of the universe as she shows Dark Lyn how the universe is so much more than what she perceives it to be. This realization makes Dark Lyn relinquish her powers. Together with He-Man, Teela banishes Scareglow's army to Subternia. With the battle won and the universe saved, our heroes are victorious, and both He-Man and Teela talk about how they will always need each other.
Our friends is long gone.
Sorry to do this, Clampchamp.
What makes Teela so powerful? Trained in combat from an early age and possessing heavenly powers, Teela is an expert fighter, skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and has mastered various unique weapons with her fighting style. Her personal preference seems to be a staff that she can be seen using throughout her animated appearances, spanning different series and universes. She is a knowledgeable and intelligent fighter who has received in-depth training in martial arts, weapons, and vehicles, and has even attended several of Eternia's best schools to study. She is a force to be reckoned with, as she is shown to take out numerous enemies at once on multiple occasions quickly. She possesses no fear when dealing with any adversity thrown her way, be it giant creatures or hordes of ruthless enemies. She has shown incredible feats of strength, striking power, durability, endurance, agility, and battle prowess throughout her plethora of appearances alongside He-Man and Man-at-Arms. Her weapons arsenal usually consisted of staffs, blades, and guns. On specific occasions, she has been seen using her magical powers imbued within her due to the blessings of the sorceress. She possesses tremendous resilience, as she has been backed into a corner by the shenanigans of Skeletor various times, but never backed down from a fight, motivated by the desire never to allow evil to prevail. In the episodes we discussed earlier, it is evident that when Teela is active in battle, she is such a dominant presence on the field that her presence alone can be the deciding factor for victory. She even takes on the role of captain of the Royal Guard of Eternia at a very young age, which showcases her potent ability and mastery of skills alongside her leadership skills. She has defeated plenty of physically stronger opponents and more experienced fighters. She is even considered one of the best sky sled pilots in all of Eternia. She is a fierce and unrelenting warrior that has aided He-Man in many of his battles against the forces of evil and has successfully changed the tide of the battle in Hero's favor through her sheer power.
But it is everything else too.
Conclusion. Even though Teela's character can be often seen as ill-tempered and rash, the theme that follows in all of her decisions is the need to help her friends, family, and comrades in battle. She never backs down from throwing herself into the fray if it means that she can support her friends in even the slightest way possible. Seemingly quick to judge, Teela is still a master strategist, hence assuming the role of captain of the Royal Guard. Her capabilities as a fighter and a leader ensure her comrades blindly put their trust in her and follow her command without any questions. In a world like the He-Man universe, where the society is barbaric and dominated by powerful men, it is great to see a physically capable, brave, bold woman like Teela. Competitive and ambitious, and rightfully so, Teela is always determined to achieve greater heights. Yet, nothing brings her more happiness than Man-at-Arms, her father's love and respect. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.